When you think of a declining power, you might think of China. When you think of a rising power, yes, you might think of India. Today, we talk about India with a very special guest. As you know, I like listening to military personnel. So, he's a retired, 7th generation Indian Army lieutenant. We are talking about the June 2020 clash in the Galwan Valley. We are talking about the Indian Navy. And we are talking about their sophisticated, worldly Minister of Foreign Affairs. Welcome to the show. Hi everyone. Today we have a show about India, a highly interesting topic. I would like to introduce you to our guest. Sir, please.
Jaishankar Richard, it's an honor to be on a news channel. I am Lieutenant Colonel J.S. Sodhi. I am a retired officer from the Indian Army from the Corps of Engineers. I am a 7th generation Indian Army officer and a 3rd generation from the Corps of Engineers of the Indian Army.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start again. First with how should we refer to the conflict areas in the Himalayas? Are they rather contested or disputed borders, or are they rather China's claimed territories? What's your take here?
Richard, this standoff between India and China is primarily because China lays its claim on the Indian territory, which has been demarcated very clearly, be it the Mahan line, be it the Eastern Ladakh, or the Aksai chain, which is an integral part of India currently under the occupation of China. It is China who doesn't want to settle the border dispute. So I would say it is a dispute created by China, which has led to this situation between India and China as on today.
Okay, thank you. So now another question kind of related. How much do you think is India compromised by China? And by that, I mean like the business and military and government, the influencers, and those people who actually influence opinion, the general opinion. What do you think? How much do they influence the domestic discussion in India?
Well, as far as the discussion of China in normal Indian day-to-day talk, it is increased much higher after the 2017 Doklam incident and the 2020 Galwan Valley incident. But otherwise, if I go by the meaning of the word compromise, the Indian government or the army or any establishment is not compromised by China. India is a strong country today, and it takes its own decisions which are best for its national interest and national security.
I know how it's in Taiwan, where actually there is a huge influence on the media. It's also in the US through different people, you know, like lobbyists, influencers. So is India doing really that well that there is no influence on the public discussion?
Well, the public discussion, China does figure, but China is seen as an aggressor who has many times backstabbed India, right from the 1962 India-China war till the recent incident of 2020 of the Galwan Valley. In fact, if you watch the Indian news channels, there is very clear, candid discussion and debate on China, where almost every speaker coming on the Indian news channel says that China is an aggressor. So the Indian media is not influenced by China's economic weight, but yes, China and India have a good business ties, which is evident with China and Taiwan also, because today business is between countries, which is across the globe. Because everything cannot be produced by one country, so countries are interdependent on each other from the business point of view. But as far as the influence on the Indian military or the Indian media is concerned, China does not have any forebearing.
Good to hear that you have such a really purely domestic discussion. Since you mentioned the conflict or the clash in Galwan in June 2020, could you please tell us a little bit what do you think what led to it? Why, after a long period, a long time of actually calm and, let's say, peace, why was there suddenly such an outbreak?
Richard, the problem started after Xi Jinping became the Chinese president on 14th May 2013. And in his first visit to a foreign country after assuming power, which was Kazakhstan, there he announced the One Belt, One Road initiative, which was later name was changed to the Belt Road Initiative, the BRI. Under the BRI, Xi Jinping wanted to officially make China a much stronger nation, develop the trading routes. But there was a hidden aim in this BRI. The hidden aim was that China wanted to exert itself as a superpower, as a military power. And because of the salami slicing strategy that China beautifully does in with many countries, it tried to nibble up certain part of the Indian territory also, which India did not agree to, and it led to these clashes. Now, China has got a border of 22,800 kilometers with 14 countries. It has a land dispute with all these 14 countries.
Yes.
Rather, it has dispute with 17 countries, which includes 3 countries over which it has water disputes. So the aim of China is expansionist, and with smaller countries, it may be successful, but with India, it is not successful because as far as the Indian political leadership is concerned, it is a very strong leadership, which, like I told you earlier, just believes in 2 things, the national interest and the national security. So when this, in the 2020 Galwan incident, which happened, it is because the LAC, or the line of actual control between India and China, as the border is called, because there is no clear demarcated border. Because the LAC here depends on various factors like the rivers, and also rivers keep on changing their courses, so the LAC changes accordingly. But for long, it was a kind of a agreed this thing that there's a buffer zone extending from 2 to 4 kilometers at various places, which is kind of a no man's land, where neither the Chinese army will enter, neither the Indian army will enter. There'll be no settlements made, no habitats made. But in 2020 Galwan, in the Galwan Valley, China broke this trust of India, and it sent its troops to the Galwan Valley, where the Indian troops went, and they told them to go back. The Chinese refused to go back. It led to the clashes. So it is basically China, as part of its salami slicing strategy, wanted to nibble away certain Indian territory, which the Indians did not allow.
How does India now counter China's expansion? Like, I guess so far as I know, by building ports and bases in the area, like military cooperation with Japan and Vietnam. Now you have your latest aircraft carrier. Could you please detail a little bit how does India cope with that problem?
As far as India is concerned, India knows that the threat from China is there, and it is it is having a 2-pronged strategy. First is to be strong economically, which has been evident by the fact that just few days back, India is being rated as the 5th biggest economy of the world. Yeah. And the second is that India is beefing up its security. Now, part of these 2 stated aims is that India has been following a policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat, or Make in India initiative, which was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he took over power for the first time in 2014. Under the Atmanirbhar policy of self-reliant India, and the other is the Make in India initiative, a lot of impetus is being given to the Indian industries to produce things within the country, so that we're not dependent much on the other countries. And it has borne fruit. Before 2014, India used to import almost every of its defense requirement. But ever since Prime Minister Modi gave the 2 slogans of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, the Indian defense production has seen a paradigm shift. In the last financial year, India exported arms worth 1,061 crore rupees. And in the financial year, by the financial year 2024-25, India will be exporting worth 35,000 crores. And today, India is ranked amongst the top 25 nations in the world, which are the biggest arms exporter. So that has been a great shift, what India was 8 years back and what India is now. And like you rightly said, Richard, INS Vikrant, India's 2nd aircraft carrier, which has just been commissioned a few days back, that again buttresses my point that India is becoming self-reliant in almost every field, be it defense or be it the non-defense. I would like to also tell you a bit about the non-defense sector. Okay. In the last financial year, India has reduced its import of toys for children by 70% and increased its export of toys by 61%. So this Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India has been a tremendous success in just a short duration of 8 years.
Thank you. So basically you answered my question, because I wanted to ask, the next one would be, is there a chance that India would capitalize on the slowing economy in China, and what's going on now with the lockdowns, and basically putting ideology over over economy. So you partly answered this. Is there anything maybe you would like to add? Is there a sign maybe that some businesses are moving from China to India, or it's taking over, parts of China's production, maybe foreign investment?
Definitely, Richard, we are seeing a slow shift in this because the world is now realizing that what China stands for, what India stands for. There are 105 countries in the world, out of which 193 countries are members of the United Nations. China has given loan to 166 countries, out of which 40 countries are totally economically finished. They're so, come in the debt trap. Now, China follows the predatory tactics of helping countries. When India helps countries because out of a genuine humanity, be it China, be it Sri Lanka, be it Nepal, be it any country, wherever aid is required, India is almost the foremost country to give aid. In fact, during the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, India rescued 23,000 of its students, which included 187 Pakistani students. So as far as humanity is concerned, I think India is number one in this. I don't speak as an Indian. I speak as a human with all these statistics in front of me. So when we compare between China and India, India is fast emerging as a global player. Officially, India is not a superpower, but unofficially, India is a superpower, as can be seen by the fact that India is part of the I2U2. India is an important member of the Quad. India was part of the SEO. I mean, every international alliance, India is part of it. Today, every country in the world wants good relations with India. Every leader of any country wants a bilateral meeting in India. This itself shows that India has emerged as a global superpower.
I'm very glad to hear that. Yes, I'm very much in favor of this trend. My last question would be, as you said, yes, India is perceived better and better abroad and is really rising. And you have also a very outspoken Minister of Foreign Affairs. So I know more about him from his conferences and from his, appearances abroad. But I'm curious, how is he perceived domestically?
Richard, the Indian Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is
Yes.
perhaps the finest foreign minister India's had.
Okay.
He's been a career diplomat with 38
Yes.
years of distinguished service in the Indian Foreign Service. He's been ambassador to 4 important countries,
Yes.
USA, China, Singapore, and Czechoslovakia.
Yes.
And ever since he's become the finance minister, we have seen the Indian foreign policy has gone from being strong to stronger. With two great leaders that India has today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's foreign policy is right on the track. And we can see by the Indian responses to various international situations, international crises, where India has always been appreciated for its stand, whether being non-aligned with US or with Russia and the ongoing Russian war, or having a say in every important alliance which I just told you. It is due to the foreign minister who we have is a strong personality who knows his job very well, having been a career diplomat. He's a very matured and a balanced person, and the fruits and results are there for all to see.
Yes, I like what he says, because not only promotes the Indian way, but he also shows that Asia has a different way. And also, I think he's very much a contrast to China's foreign or officials, military or foreign policy officials, who are basically arrogant and threatening everyone. And here we have an example of a very sophisticated a diplomat who knows how to talk to the West, right?
Richard, I totally agree with you. His 38 years in the Indian Foreign Service, his maturity, his being articulate, his being straight to the point,
Yes.
talking straight to the issue. I mean, these are the things which have highlighted him as one of the great foreign ministers of the world. And definitely, I would rate him the best foreign minister of India.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your input, for your insight.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.